Well, hi everyone. Today I'm going to endeavour to show you how to do a prop machete like the one on the top out of plywood, or you can make it out of 5mm foam board. The one on the top, as you can see, that's been made out of the 5mm foam board, and it looks quite realistic. I put a couple of photos on Facebook to show people it hanging on the wall, and I thought it was a real one, and all it is bounded leather, but even the handle's not real wood, it's just foam board that I've painted using acrylics, and the whole thing is just painted with acrylics on black foam, so it's very light, good as a prop. The one I'm going to be doing today is going to be out of 6mm ply, so I need to make one a little bit stronger, so we're going to go ahead and show you how to do that using the template from the picture I did below, which I found on Google and just blew up and printed in sections and stuck together to give me the outline. So here goes. Well, we're in the workshop now, and as you can see I've got it laid out on the board, and I said I'm using the 6mm ply, and the actual sizes of the piece you'll need is about 84 centimetres or 33 inches long by 7.5 centimetres by 3 inches wide, but you can pick up a sheet for about 16-17 pounds, and you can probably get about 30 machetes out of that, but if you can find an off-cut or something you can strip up, that'd be quite good. What I'm going to do as well is also cut out 4 extra pieces for the handle, so you laminate it up and make it thicker, but you can use thicker pine or anything if you've got it laying around if you want to show that for the handle, but I'm going to probably laminate this and then file it all down. So you can see I started off by printing off the template, as I said, which I'll try and include the file of this on the with the video or on the YouTube page, but I'll see if I can do that. If not, it's easy to find something and just print it out and blow up to the size you need. But as you can see on this now, I've marked it out, so I put it on the ply and I've marked this out, and now I'm going to try and cut it out as accurately as possible. Now I'm going to cut the detailed parts out with this. This is called a piercing saw, but you can use a fret saw or a jigsaw if you need to, or even a bandsaw, but this is quite good. As you can see, the blade's really thin, so it'd be quite handy to get in to go around all the detailed bits. But the long sections, again, I'm probably going to use a ropey old bandsaw I've got laying around, but there's no point showing you me doing this because it's wasting your time and everything else. So if I get on and do that, and I'll show you the next stage once it's all cut out. Cheers. Right, as you can see, the sword or the machete is now roughed out, and a good tip, if you're going to be using a jigsaw or a rougher saw, use some ordinary masking tape and just put a tape across along the back where you're going to cut, and that will stop it splitting out along the back and keep a nice clean edge. The actual blade of the machete doesn't matter too much because you're going to be filing that anyway, but the back edge you want to keep quite crisp, so put some masking tape and that'll make it nice. So what I've done, you can see I've roughed it out, so I've got the handle there. As we go along you can see it's a little bit ragged, but don't worry too much, but because we're going to be filing that anyway. So I've got all the bits now, so now I'm going to mark out some more handles. So I need 4 more pieces of that shape, 2 more each side, to thicken the handle up so we can actually shape it to get the grip. Right, so as you can see here I've marked out 4 more handle pieces. So all I did, I just went around the template, as you can see here, just drew around it, 4 more pieces on the same 6mm ply. I mean, but for this you can use the 5mm foam board either side of the wooden handle if you want to for comfort, but I'm going to be wrapping it in some strips of leather anyway, just to make it look a bit more authentic and old-fashioned style zombie killer machete. So that's why you don't have to worry too much about it as well, being a little bit ragged on the blade part, because it's got to look like it's been hacking through a few skulls in its time, a few zombie skulls. So make sure it looks a bit ragged, and when we sharpen it up we'll take some nicks out of it as well. So I'm going to cut these out now, and then when I've done that I'll show you the next part. Right, as you can see I've cut out the 4 pieces, so they're going to make the laminate handle. Now 4 might be too wide for your hand if you've got smaller hands or anything like that, but I'm going to be filing these down a lot to get the rounded shape of the top and the bottom of the actual handle. So it might seem a bit too thick, because when you see when these are stacked up, if you look, when this is all put together, it does laminate up quite thick, but once it's all glued in place and once it's all done, you see that once that's filed down, it gives it a nice, it will look really good and it will look effective and it will fit nicely in your hand, so you can see like that. But there's going to be lots of filing done on this. Sorry if that goes a bit blurry there, but there's going to be lots of filing done to get it into shape. So, but again, if you haven't got a file or you haven't got any decent tools, all of this can be done with sandpaper, and just roughed out and old rasps and stuff like that. You don't need power tools for any of this. It's take a bit longer doing things by hand, but in fact you do get a better finish. So don't be frightened and think, oh, you can only do this with power tools and everything. And that's the reason I'm doing this. I looked on YouTube to try and find how to make a prop machete for like a zombie killer thing for a laugh, and all I found was a couple, and the first one said, well, first buy a real machete, which seems to defeat the object somewhat, to buy a real one and then just shape it differently. Whereas this way you can make a good prop one out of foam or wood, just for fancy dress or anything like this you like. But don't worry about tools, you don't need them, it can all be done by hand. A bit longer, but it will be good. Right, as you can see I've got the 4 pieces laid out like this. What I'm going to do is actually glue 2 pieces, these 2 together for each side of the handle, and let them dry so that I can file the inside edge and smooth that out, so when it sits on top I haven't got to try and get in there and it'll be tricky to actually do it. And what I've done is I've just written the word in there, so I know that's the inside, so that's got to sit there for like that. And then on this one I've written inside, so I know that's going to be the inside and it's going to sit on there. So I'm just going to glue these up now. I'm using some strong wood glue. Give them a bit of a slip slide around. Don't worry if it splurges, because it's all going to be filed away. But the one bit you want to keep nice. So you can get a piece of tissue if you want to, and just bring this up. Make sure these front edges here, if these front edges are quite nice together, and then that will work. So you can just wipe that around. A bit too much on there, but more the merrier. Again, move that front edge, so that front edge is quite close. Then you can leave that like that. Same on this one. Give it a bit of a squidge. They all squirts out, so you know that you're covered. So you know that every bit of the surfaces are covered. Slide it around, make sure everywhere is done. So don't worry about getting in a mess. It's all washes off. It's all water soluble. So this stuff I'm using is the weatherproof glue, but you can get the green one of this Evo stick wood glue, which is just ordinary wood glue. But so just make sure the fronts are lined up. That makes it easier just to file it back, just like that. And then what we do is we'll let these set, let these go off, and then once that's done I'm just going to round the front edge. So on that one that's the inside, so we'll round it that way. On this one being that's the top section, we'll round it this way to make it much easier before we glue them onto the actual handle of the machete. I know it's going to look really thick, but what we're going to do is I'm going to be using a tool called a power file, just to file around the edge to curve the handle off really nice. But if you haven't got a power file, it can be done with an ordinary hand file or a sander. Any kind of sander will do it. But again, if you haven't got the machines, just files and hand sanding. Takes longer, but you can do the same job. And if you're using foam board, then hand sanding will probably be better. You get a smoother finish. Using a power file or a power sander can rip through it really quickly, but you want to be careful with that. So once that's dried, we'll then be gluing those either side of that, and then we'll start shaping the actual blade. So what I'm going to be doing is drawing a line all the way along the blade using a pair of compasses, pencil compasses, and then filing it back to that again, or you can be using a sander, sand it back to that so you look like you've actually got the blade cut into it. And then once that's done, I'm going to put a few digs in it so it looks like it's been hitting a few things, and then we'll get onto some paint effects after that to finish off, to make it look real, make it look as best we can. Right, so these are now glued together and these are stuck. So what I'm going to do now is just take off this edge so that when it sits against, you can see from here, when it sits against the actual wooden machete, that will curve back nicely on the handle. So what I haven't got to worry about doing is trying to get in and try and get file it in there while it's attached to this part, because it'll be a bit difficult. So I'm going to take this back now, file it back using the power file, and then I'll glue these either side of this. You see I've just rounded this bit off now and that part, and I'll find a bit of sandpaper. Well, I've got a bit of emery cloth here now, so all I'll do now is go over this again, just in the actual machete itself. So I'm just going to do this side now, so that's the inside. So I'm going to do this bit now. Again, bit of the emery cloth. I know they say when you're sanding you're supposed to go with the grain, but with this it doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to be painting it as well. You see, now that's done and sanded, when I bring over the machete, when I lay that on, you can see it's a much nicer fit now. So that when that's together, like that, I don't know if you can see, but that will smooth, that's smoothed out nicely. So if you imagine that's going to be much rounder all the way round, that will just transition into that really nice, be a nice solid handle when you're doing this. So what I'll do now is I'll get all this covered in glue, glue it up, clamp it down, and then leave it and come back in a couple of hours and then go from there.